my name is Jesse Meekum with another episode of The Jesse Meekum Show, where I obsess out loud each week about spending purposefully, saving aspirationally, and giving joyfully. It all comes down to just giving every dollar a job, or in this instance, maybe having your kids watch you give every dollar a job. There was, several years back, a CNBC survey, and it found that 83% of Americans think parents should be the ones to teach their kids about money. That doesn't seem like a surprise. I think parents mostly teach their kids about everything. Maybe not new math, maybe not that. Out of all the parents surveyed, however, here's the twist for us, nearly a third of them said they never spoke to their kids about money. Does this concern you? Does it concern me, a guy that obsesses about money and maybe talks about it too often? No. Psychologists have been telling us for years that kids don't listen to what we say, and that's not a surprise, especially once they know everything and they're 14. But they observe. They observe like crazy. And I've been shocked. We're in the midst of raising our 7 kids, and I am shocked at the things they remember that were formative for them, where I don't remember sitting down and saying, hey, here's lesson 26 about blah, blah, blah. I also remember one time watching my dad sweep out the garage, and he was a weird one in the sense that he thought cars go in the garage. And I remember him bending over pretty far down because the broom that he was using, the handle had broken. And so his handle for this broom was maybe 2 feet long, maybe less. And he was stooped way over. And I was very little, and I remember watching him sweep out the garage with that tiny, tiny little broom. And he wasn't a small person. He was of average height. So I say that story partially to show you that it stuck in my mind. And I was little, like kindergarten maybe. And it also taught me a lesson, like make it do without, that kind of a thing. And he was making it do. It was I asked him about this later, and it was at a time where finances were being stretched by my parents. So I saw it. I saw a behavior modeled, and I can't help but think that didn't and still won't have an impact on me going forward. Consider maybe the language that your kids observe you use as it relates to different money moments. So maybe at a store, how do you talk about not being able to buy something or being able to buy, choosing to? Can you say things like, oh, we've been saving up for this for quite a while, and I'm super stoked to go buy it. Or, that's not in our plan. Or, we're spending money on other things we care about more. Things that aren't like, no, we can't do that, we can't afford that, but just what you are choosing. That's one option you might consider. Just examine the language around money. When you are discussing money with your spouse and your kids are observing this, what are the words you're using there? Is it full of stress? Does it become a little bit of a fight? Is there a lot of angst there? Do the kids see that? Now, I will say, it is totally okay to model a disagreement between two parents and have your kids observe, as long as you are, hopefully, demonstrating how to disagree amicably, right? Do your kids ever hear you talk about money when you're excited about it, or is it only when you're stressed? Do they hear you talk about money as it relates to far into the future and also as it relates to right now? Do they see you sitting down with YNAB or some other app that you use to help you line up your money with your spending? Do they see you then just planning and thinking and being intentional? They're going to pick it all up, but they will observe it more than having you sit down and saying, here's lesson 27. This is how we do money. So my guess is your kids have learned a lot from you about how to do money. And the best thing that you could do for them is to learn how to do it for yourself and just model it away. My favorite story probably of watching my kid fall on his face with money was when he wanted to buy this little device, a handheld device called a Leapfrog, I think. And I did not want him to spend $100-some on that. He had saved up for literal years, birthday money and whatnot. And so I withdrew the money for him out of his account. He was 7 maybe. And I got it all in ones because I wanted him to feel the pain of spending all of that money, this big old fat wad. Well, we go to a big store that sells electronics and he buys that Leapfrog. We're walking up to the cashier and I'm like, here's the moment of truth. He's going to have second doubts. He's going to second guess. And not the kind of second guess we eliminate by giving every dollar a job and learning to live spendfully. But he's going to have just buyer's remorse before he's even bought it. And he's going to stem the tide of wanting. Well, he didn't even hesitate. I gave him that whole wad of $100-some, all ones. And I'm like, here you go, here you go, here you go. And the cashier says the total, and he just basically threw it at the cashier. Now, that was me trying to have him learn a lesson, and I would say I failed. But as I've observed him now, 13, 14 years later, as a young adult, still doesn't know much, but a young adult, I can see all of these behaviors coming out where we didn't sit down and talk about them, but he observed them. He observed them for years. And that counts. That counts for a lot. So it's not about the best personal finance book you gave your kid. It's not about sitting them down and having, a dozen lessons from dad or mom about this. It's really just you make sure that you are living spendfully. You make sure that you're giving every dollar a job. You make sure you're working the 5 questions. And then just have your kids observe you loving how you spend. What a gift that you could give your kids. I guess we'll leave it at that. Until next time, it is just about giving every dollar a job and having your kids watch you do it.